You never know what happens behind closed doors, but everything starts to make a little bit more sense in hindsight. Today on rLounge, a sharp truth reveals itself. Am I the a-hole for walking out over a chair? Okay, hear me out. For as long as I can remember in my family, almost any time I got up from my seat, someone would take it to either be funny or to claim it as if no one was using it. And as a teenager, it literally got to the point I bought my own folding chair so I could pick it up and carry it with me. If I left it where it was, someone would take it, then get mad when I wanted it back. As an example, on a holiday last year, I got up from my chair for a moment to help with something and came back to find a kid in it. And then the family berating me for wanting them to move. But I tell them that when a man owns and brings his own chair, they expect to be able to use it. I own a very nice folding chair that's comfortable and easily portable. And I pretty much bring it to any family events because people are always scrambling for chairs. Well, the other day, I went to a birthday party for my nephew, and like always, I brought my own chair. But at some point, I had to use the bathroom. When I came back, my chair was gone, and everyone acted like they didn't know where it was. I said they had 1 minute to return it, or I was leaving. They laughed at first, but then realized I was serious as I started going to the door. Everybody told me to just calm down, and it was a joke. I said I don't care if they think I'm a stick in the mud. I wouldn't be bringing my own chair all the time if other people weren't always taking my seat when I get up. I don't think it's funny. I never did. My brother-in-law then pulled the chair out from where he'd hidden it, and when I got it back, one of the legs was bent. I said it was not like this before, and how could he possibly have done this to a metal chair? He said he could fix it and tried to unbend it, but only made it worse. The chair is pretty much unusable now because the leg is warped and I don't want to risk putting weight on it. I told my brother-in-law he owes me $50 for the chair because that's what I paid for it new 2 years ago. He got mad and kept saying it was just a stupid chair. I said it was my stupid chair, and this wouldn't have happened if he wasn't so immature that he and everyone else had to mess with me for years about where I sit. Then I took my now messed up chair and walked out. My family has been blowing my phone up, saying that it's just a chair and to let it go, but I still want my brother to pay me back for it. Am I the a-hole? Update. Last night I sent a mass text out to my family that I will not be going to any family function no matter how important it is until they make this right by promising not to screw with me anymore and repay me for the chair. They've mostly gone quiet now, but I can wait. I've got all the time in the world for them to realize I'm serious. Let's hear one quick comment from the audience. They bully you for years, constantly conspire as a group to prevent you from sitting, hide and break your property, and insult and gaslight you when you attempt to set the smallest boundary? Am I missing something? I would suggest not attending these get-togethers anymore. They can play musical chairs without you. Seriously, what do you actually get out of going to these things that is worth putting up with? The bullying, not the a-hole. Honestly, OP, this sounds like it's stemming from a larger issue. It's not just about the chair. It's about how they've been treating you for years. You're finally putting your foot down and drawing the line. These people need to know that it's not okay to bully you and disrespect you like that. Update, 4 months later on. I walked out over a chair and my family tore itself apart. I wasn't going to come back here again. To be honest, I'd completely forgotten I made this account. I only got back in because I'd written down the password and left it in my desk. I was listening to Reddit videos on YouTube a couple weeks ago when I suddenly heard my old Am I the A-hole post, so I thought I'd give an update. Well, things escalated a lot after I made that post because I linked it to my parents and other family members after a little while. They were furious with me at first. Some even mocked me, saying things like, "Oh, watch what you say or do around OP. He might just post about it on Reddit." But when they actually read the comments on my post when I made them, they became mortified. My brother-in-law did agree to pay for a new chair and gave me the money I asked for. I bought a better folding chair than my last one and resumed going to family functions. But whenever I was there was this air about some of the family members. They looked at me like I'd sucked all the fun out of the room. My parents had stopped thinking the chair thing was funny and even scolded a kid for taking my seat when I got up to use the bathroom. The only problem is that this kid was my nephew, and he started crying when they made him get up. My brother-in-law came to the boy's rescue, and my nephew ended up blurting out that his daddy told him he could do it. When I was out of the bathroom, there was a big fight about it going on. Several family members, including my sister and brother-in-law, were all yelling that it was just a dang chair, and I shouldn't be so butthurt about it. My parents demanded to know why they were so butthurt about not being allowed to screw with me anymore. Like, what was their motivation after doing it for so long? It made no sense and wasn't funny anymore, and that's when I intervened. I told them none of this crap would have ever happened if they hadn't been so intent on messing with me when there really was no point to it. And I only started bringing my own chair because I could never find a stable place to sit. And if they still thought they were in the right about the situation, then they were just bullies, plain and simple. And what kind of example is that to be setting for their son? My brother-in-law raged, grabbed my new chair, and hurled it through the living room bay window. There was a bit of a pause before he realized what he'd just done. Then he took off in his car and left my sister and nephew there. My parents got my sister to call him, and over the phone they threatened to go to the police if he didn't pay for the damages. Brother-in-law yelled a few F-bombs until my sister took the phone back, and she said that he can either make things right or she'll divorce him. Well, that did the trick because he came back looking like a kicked puppy with his head hanging low. He apologized to me and my parents without even looking at us, said he'd pay for the new bay window and left again. My sister said he drank himself to sleep that night. My new chair was just fine. It took being hurled through a bay window like a champ. There was hardly a scratch on it. My brother hired a window company to come and replace the window, and they had to measure and order a new one before it could be installed. And until then, the window had to be covered with plywood. It took some time, but they got the new bay window, and it's better than the old one. Though I imagine that it was extra expensive because it's a bay window. The family was still divided about the situation for a while. Mainly brother-in-law's parents, my uncle, and a couple of cousins. They blamed me and called me obnoxious for insisting on bringing my own chair and refusing to let anyone else use it. So I compromised. I said that if I had a good designated seat that no one will try to take away, I'll leave my chair in my car. It took 2 more family barbecues before they finally agreed to this. Since then, I've left the chair in my car unless there really wasn't enough seating, and that's only happened once since. The problem is, though, that even though they stopped screwing with me, they were still screwing with each other until things went too far. They still liked to take each other's seats, but I guess others were following my example because they put their feet down and demanded it stop. It's been going on for decades, and they've had enough. Brother-in-law stayed out of the fight entirely and hasn't caused any more trouble. But for several family functions, a number of people didn't bother to show up. My mother was broken up about it because she loves hosting parties. It took months, but everything more or less normalized again. But without the chair thing going on, some have resorted to other stupid pranks. Like a little device you hook to a chair that makes farts. They didn't do this to my seat, but did it to a cousin, and said cousin got really petty at the next party and let out real farts. He said he ate a whole pack of fiber bars and had eggs for breakfast, and it was dang nasty. Other pranks included hiding eating utensils, a stink bomb, hiding some sort of monster thing in the toilet, cellophane in a doorway, ripping paper when somebody bends over, messing with drinks, hiding shoes, copying outfits, a container of foam packing peanuts above a doorway, and finally the one that really infuriated my aunt and uncle when a party was held at their house, a glitter bomb. They got the carpet professionally cleaned and billed the person who made the glitter bomb for it, so now pranks are just over. They don't want any more. I'm fine with that, but the last few family functions have been a bit dull. I think they were so used to how things were that now they're trying to find other ways to amuse themselves that don't involve cell phones. Edit. The chair is a National Public Seating steel folding chair. I bought it online for about $80. It's got a thick foam vinyl covered pad on the seat, and it's pretty comfortable. Honestly, this is a huge sign of immaturity. People were probably feeling the same way you were, but didn't have the confidence to say anything in fear of getting made fun of or lashed out on, just as you did. Good on you for breaking that cycle, and honestly, freeing your family from such toxic behavior. You were 100% being bullied, and it sounds like a lot of your family members were as well. On top of that, it sounds like your family members have some things they individually have to deal with, and I hope this was the push they needed to start living their best lives and do some serious healing, not only for themselves, but for the sake of the family dynamic. Although pranks can be fun, malicious pranks are a whole other story. It sounds like these pranks were a way for people to hurt others and take the attention away from whatever they were trying to ignore in themselves. I'm hoping that this wake-up call gives rise to fun and safe opportunities for your family to explore love and appreciation for one another, and really come together as a loving, welcoming, and supportive family. Update, 1 year later. Somehow I return again, and with some crazy info on some stuff that went down this past year. I never could have imagined how things could have spiraled into what happened. If you guys thought my brother-in-law was throwing a chair through a bay window after his son wasn't allowed to sit in it was crazy, just read about all of this. You're not going to want to believe it. Firstly, my good padded folding chair I'd paid over $80 for was stolen. I have no idea by who, as it didn't happen at a family event, but rather hanging out at a friend's house. Somebody just walked into his yard and took it. I learned my lesson and decided never to buy an expensive folding chair again. Now I just keep a cheap folding chair I got for $3 at a secondhand store in my trunk. Moving on to the other stuff, the family pranks I described in my last post seemingly stopped, but some of them slowly resumed. However, they were only harmless little things that just give chuckles. The only person that they refused to prank at all was me, due to all the events of my previous posts. But that didn't stop entitlement. The 7-year-old son of one of my cousins stole my phone during a family birthday party at my parents' house and intentionally broke it rather than return it. His parents were already going through a rough patch. My cousin, the father, was constantly clashing with his wife over how to parent their child. His now ex-wife was a bad enabler of their son. She's also terrible with money and has a very her way or the highway attitude, and she does not like to back down when wrong. She was one of the more outspoken people that hated me bringing my own chair and never sharing it, but she never got physical about it. She once confronted me and said that if I was going to bring my own chair, it should be something nice and made of wood that doesn't fold. I told her I was not going to lug around a dining room chair wherever I go when a folding chair takes up only a little space in my trunk. She argued with me about it more and got nowhere. None of the family events were at her house, and she does not dictate my life. She gave me a death glare for months, but otherwise left me alone. The night her son stole my phone, he had already been grounded from electronics by his father. The kid took my phone when I set it down on a table to eat some cake, and then ran off with it when I wasn't looking. He holed himself up in the master bedroom closet and was trying to install new gaming apps on my phone. That closet had a lock on the door, and the key was lost years ago. The brat refused to come out or return my phone. His mother kept telling us all, mainly me, to just leave him alone and let him game on it. But I refused and said my phone was not his toy. The brat was told several times to open the door, and he refused. All the while his mother kept contradicting everything I said. My cousin got fed up and started forcing the old door open. It's an old manufactured home, and that door was pretty flimsy. Just as he was making headway, we heard loud banging sounds from inside the closet. The brat had started banging my phone against the nearest hard object he could find. The brat let out some loud screams as his dad pulled him out of the closet. The screen on my phone was nearly destroyed. Thankfully, the rest of it was protected by the case. My cousin's wife tried to blame it on me and said it was my fault her baby broke the phone because I wouldn't let him game on it. Everyone in the room turned on her, and she shut up out of cowardice. It cost around $300 to repair my phone, and I had to use a temporary one until mine was fixed. And yes, my cousin paid for the repairs. Well, the rest of the family knew about my cousin's wife's disdain for folding chairs like the one I kept in my car, and they decided to pull a prank on her because of her attitude after the incident with her son stealing my phone. I would like to be clear that I was not involved in this in any way, nor did I really condone in doing it, but the entire thing was out of my hands. My cousins got together, decided to prank that bee of a wife, and got their hands on a whole bunch of folding chairs. Then, they removed every chair and seat in his house and replaced them with the folding chairs. Folding chairs at the dining table, folding chairs at the counter, folding chairs in a place of the living room furniture, and more were strategically placed around the house. Even the chairs on the porch were replaced with them. When my cousin's wife came home, her reaction went far beyond what anyone thought. Their plan was just to record her having a tantrum and get a laugh, but she ended up going insane on the spot and tried to get a knife from the kitchen to attack her husband with. When she couldn't get the knife, she pulled out pepper spray from her purse and used it on everybody. Then she attacked her husband with her long fake nails. She probably would have tried to claw his eyes out or something, but thankfully, one of the other guys there kicked her off of him. I couldn't freaking believe this crap happened all because folding chairs. And I feel like the root cause, since I'm the one who was always bringing my own chair to family events, since there was never enough seating and people kept taking the places I was sitting. And it escalated far beyond me. Police were obviously called, the wife got arrested, all the guys there had to go to the hospital because of the pepper spray in their eyes, and my cousin had to get all the scratches to his face treated. He looked like a bobcat attacked him. He filed for an immediate order of protection against his wife. They'd recorded everything, like her trying to get the knife and screaming she'd stab somebody. She had to go stay with her sister after spending some time in jail, and her sister, I hear, is as narcissistic as she is. My cousin obviously filed for divorce, and his wife later spent some more time in jail after pleading guilty for the assault. She wasn't allowed near her son for a while and tried to take it out on my cousin in court during the divorce. That did not go in her favor because he was easily able to prove how unhinged she is. My cousin got primary custody of his son, and his ex got only supervised visitation since she was so mentally unstable. She's pretty much abandoned her son and has shacked up with some fat older man, got a serious tan and bleached her hair. I guess she'd rather live the life of a sugar baby caked in makeup. My cousin's son has shown great improvement since being separated from his mother. He was put through counseling and listens to his father more now. The kid has to be babysat a lot since my cousin has to work, but at the very least, things got better. I still feel like the root cause of this because of the chair thing, though. Edit. Just a bit of added info I didn't think to include before. But my cousin's ex-wife had a love for fancy, expensive things she couldn't really afford. She filled my cousin's house with imitation Victorian-style furniture that she was extremely anal about, which I suppose was one of the reasons she lost her mind so hard when it was all replaced with folding chairs. My cousin threw all that furniture out when he divorced her. He said it was all uncomfortable and looked better than it felt. Second edit. My dumb self didn't bother to set a password on that phone when I got it, so the kid was able to use it just fine when he took it. I set a password after getting the phone fixed, and the kid was grounded from electronic devices by his father for a month. Whoa, that escalated quickly. To think all that started from a fold-up chair. Sounds like you're not the only one who's not a fan of pranks. Unfortunately, it took something like this to really show you and your family just what kind of person she really is and where her son's behavior was coming from. Actually, it sort of explains the rage your cousin had not too long ago with the window incident. He had to live with her, and now you and your family sort of have a glimpse into what him and his son have been dealing with behind closed doors. Share a moment when a family function escalated. Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for joining us today on rLounge. Before you go, be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you have something you want to say regarding today's content, share that with us in the comments below. See you next time.